The Easy Motion HMI screen, or Human-Machine Interface screen, is where users interface with the hardware being controlled. It provides the following functions: connects the computer to the controller, loads and runs programs created in the programmer interface, offers basic manual motion and input-output controls, defines the number of cycles to run, starts and stops the automated motion sequence, displays real-time metrics about the sequence being executed. Before running a sequence, users can configure the delay between steps and number of sequences to run settings. The delay setting allows users to insert pauses of 1 to 10 seconds between consecutive actions in the sequence. This is especially useful when running a sequence for the first time, allowing you to slow it down and ensure the program performs as expected. The default value of 0 introduces no pauses, running the sequence exactly as it was created in the programmer. The number of sequences to run field controls how many times your sequence will cycle. Users can define any value from 1 to 10 million by typing the desired number. Preparing to run a sequence is a simple 3-step process. First, ensure the computer is connected to the controller via an Ethernet cable. The system will automatically attempt to establish this connection, but if it doesn't, make sure the controller is powered on, the e-stop is disengaged, and then click the Click to Connect button. The button will turn from blue to orange once the connection is established. If you're running both pneumatic and motor motion, make sure Easy Pneumatics and Easy Motor are also connected via an Ethernet cable. Next, click the Choose Sequence File button and locate the text file saved from the programmer interface. Select the file and load it into the HMI. Once loaded, the button will turn orange and a text-based preview of the actions in the sequence will appear in the HMI's preview window. The file name and directory path will also be displayed. Finally, click the Initialize File button. The button will turn orange and the initialization sequence will run immediately, after which the program will pause. Note that the initialization sequence only runs before the first cycle. If multiple cycles are defined in the number of sequences to run field, the initialization sequence will not run in subsequent cycles. Once all 3 buttons are orange and you have configured the delay and number of sequences, you can start the sequence by clicking Start Sequence. After clicking Start Sequence, the controller will immediately begin sending signals to the motion hardware to execute the sequence. The HMI displays real-time metrics as the sequence runs, including start time, elapsed time, and sequence count, which appear immediately. The end time value will display once the sequence completes. Additionally, the Current Process field shows the specific action currently being executed in the sequence. If a Wait for User block is included in the sequence, the system will pause when it reaches that point of the program. Clicking the Clear Wait for User button will resume the sequence. Alternatively, if the remote input receptacle on the control box is being used, for example, with a foot pedal or push button, triggering the remote input will achieve the same result. At any time, a user can click the Stop button, which stops the system from executing the balance of the program. Note that unlike the physical emergency off switch, the Stop button in the HMI will not de-energize the system. It will not terminate the air supply, purge internal pressure, or cut electrical power. When Easy Pneumatics and Easy Motor are connected and used together, either e-stop will stop the sequence, but only the respective system will be de-energized. The motor e-stop de-energizes only motors, and the pneumatics e-stop de-energizes only pneumatics. Clicking the HMI's Exit button during a sequence will allow the current action to complete, but no further steps will be executed. Basic manual controls are accessible via the HMI screen. click the Manual Controls button to reveal these options. For pneumatics, a visual representation of each air cylinder's piston rod position is displayed. Use the Extend or Retract buttons to control the movement of the corresponding piston rods. While the interface shows air cylinders, since they are the most common type of pneumatic actuator, the manual controls will also work with other pneumatic actuators such as rotary or slide actuators. However, the visual representations will not change to reflect non-cylinder actuator types. Please note that the visual representations in the manual pneumatics controls window do not detect the actual position of the piston rod. They simply send signals to open or close the air valves. Therefore, if pneumatic tubing is connected incorrectly or if a physical obstruction prevents the piston rod from moving, the positions shown in the manual controls window may not match the actual position of the physical actuator. Manual controls for motors are also included in the manual controls section of the HMI. To manually control a motor, first enable the motor axis by selecting the Enabled button at the top of the window. Next, choose between linear or rotary. The linear selection will enable configurations for moving a motor that is attached to a linear slide, while the rotary selection will enable configurations for moving a simple rotational movement. If the linear option is selected, additional fields appear for slide length, screw pitch, and linear movement speed. Enter the usable length of your linear slide, the pitch of the lead or ball screw on your actuator, and the desired movement speed. Keep in mind that the linear slides require homing to a physical switch, so the No Home Switch toggle cannot be selected in linear mode. Next, home the slide. Again, the system must home to a physical switch before executing the first move command. Subsequent moves will not require homing unless the axis is disabled, the page is left, or the mode is changed between linear and rotary. Changing the mode will also disable the Move button, requiring rehoming. Finally, enter the target position in the Move to Position field and click Begin Move to execute the command. If the rotary option is selected, fields for gear ratio and rotary movement speed will be displayed. Enter these values. In this mode, the Move to Position field refers to degrees. For example, entering 360 will rotate the motor shaft one full revolution. Before executing a move command, you must define a home position. If using a physical switch, the motor will rotate in one direction until it hits the switch, then back off to establish the home position. If no sensor is used, click the Set button to record the current position as home. All subsequent positions will then be measured relative to this point. Once homed, enter the target position in the Move to Position field and click Begin Move. For homing in both linear and rotary modes, the motor always rotates counterclockwise by default when viewed from the front of the motor shaft. This direction cannot be changed in manual mode. In the Easy I/O add-on tab, users can monitor and trigger sensors via digital and analog inputs and outputs. Note that these I/O capabilities are only available if the corresponding add-on has been purchased. The I/O add-on provides the following digital and analog inputs and outputs. For Easy Pneumatics, 5 digital inputs, 5 digital outputs, 2 analog inputs, and 2 analog outputs. For Easy Motor, 5 digital inputs, 5 digital outputs, and 4 analog inputs. Note that analog outputs are not available with Easy Motor I/O add-on. When digital inputs are active, the color dot next to the corresponding input number will change from red to green. When no digital signal is present, the dot will remain red. To manually turn digital output signals on or off, simply click the button next to the desired digital output number to toggle between on and off states. analog input values are shown next to the corresponding input numbers. To manually send an analog signal, simply enter the desired value next to the corresponding analog output number, then click the associated button to toggle between on and off states. Finally, the computer must remain on and connected to the control box at all times for sequences to continue running. If the computer is disconnected, the motion sequence will terminate immediately. Reconnecting the computer will not resume the sequence. Instead, the user will need to start a new sequence once the computer is reconnected. Therefore, it is recommended that users configure their computer settings to prevent interruptions, such as the computer entering sleep mode, installing updates, or restarting automatically.